Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
Oh, and in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
This is my boomstick.
Here's Johnny.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
Righteous! Righteous! Yeah!
I love the smell of napalm in the morning.
Good morning, Vietnam!
Houston, we have a problem.
The first rule of Fight Club is you do not talk about Fight Club.
All right.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Those Film Nerds Podcast. My name is Will Spalding, and as always, I am joined here today by none other than Sam Dierberger. Sam, how's it going? What's up?
We're hanging in there.
Yeah.
You know, it is Tuesday, which, you know, Tuesdays are kind of the I don't know, the lost time of the week. Like, if you asked me what I did last Tuesday, I wouldn't be able to tell you because it's Tuesday. So, but no, in all seriousness, I'm doing quite well. How are you, Will?
Fantastic. I'm doing great. Yeah, we got. I feel like we got a lot to talk about tonight, actually, with quite a few industry news segments hitting the docket. That I feel are at least worth mentioning.
Yep.
Maybe a discussion here or there too. So, and then of course we got a movie of the week, as always.
As always, of course.
And I suppose we can just we can kind of tease that right now, Sam. What is said movie of the week?
This week we're continuing our Best Picture retrospective. And we are doing Moonlight.
Was you looking at me like that? What, man? Oh, you just drove down here?
Yeah, Moonlight. Really subtle trailer, so there's not much to go on. But yeah, Moonlight. So we're through what, Sam? This will be 5 of these now.
Yeah, I think this is number 5, which is pretty crazy.
Right.
We've taken quite a few breaks in between each of them, but you know, but the Parasite one we did didn't feel like that long ago. I think that was this last spring.
We've gone at a good rate, I think.
We've been pretty good about it. Probably about on average once a month now. So that's something.
Yeah, we have that to hang our hats on.
Well, you don't have much to hang our hats on. But,
no, but
that really we owe it to the interns. You know, they keep us on track.
Yeah.
We should really get around to paying them, but
no, don't talk. We've discussed this many times. We're not. Kidding, of course. But Sam, let's get into some industry news talk. I think I got three, one kind of major and then two smaller segments to discuss.
Yeah, sure.
We will we'll hit on a sad one first. I know we've talked about this before. When we thought it was over, but Jeff Bridges has announced that he is in remission upon beating his cancer, and it's now come back. And we're devastated, absolutely devastated by this news. We love Bridges so much and only wish the best for him. So it's upsetting to know that he is doing unwell, although we hope for him and wish him the best.
Yeah, I think he was quoted as saying he was close to the pearly gates because he had COVID while battling his lymphoma. Yeah, and that's
it's not a good combo.
That'll give someone a new perspective on life, I suppose. But yeah, so he's doing better, which is good. But we had this is what I thought you were referencing initially when.
Oh gosh, is there another thing?
You heard me breathe into the microphone devastatingly. Yeah, I got back to my townhome from class today, and my roommate informed me that Norm Macdonald had passed away.
Yeah.
And that was surprisingly very I don't know, annoying. Not annoying, just like wow. Where did that come from? And he had been Chadwick Bosemanging his entire condition. He'd been living with cancer for 9 years. Didn't tell anyone outside of his close family and friends. And, it's just a terrible, terrible loss to pop culture generally, but specifically the comedic realm.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome SNL run and very funny. I guess all we have to say is, or all I have to say is thanks for the laughs, really.
Yeah, seriously. He his brand of comedy is truly unlike anything you'll ever see. It sounds like a cliche, but no one else could have done what he did.
Yeah.
No one can even, I mean, his comedy was influential, but no one could do something type of comedy that Norm Macdonald did. They just couldn't. Only he could do his own thing. So truly a loss. And we're pretty upset about it. At least I
am. Absolutely. Well, Sam, I have two more, both kind of on the positive note. One super short and one we can maybe get into a little bit more.
Sure.
Not sure if I think we've discussed this project maybe in passing a little bit, but Olivia Wilde's next directorial movie called Don't Worry, Darling. Briefly, I'll read the description. A housewife living in a utopian community in the California desert uncovers a disturbing truth about her seemingly perfect life. Starring Florence Pugh, Chris Pine, Olivia Wilde, and Harry Styles. We got our first look at it just the other day, Sam, and it looks awesome. Did you see this?
I did, yeah.
Yeah, I'd encourage anyone to. I think Florence Pugh posted it and Hollywood Reporter. It's everywhere. So I don't know. It was literally like 10, 11, 12 seconds. But Sam, what did you get any impressions from it or?
Yeah, it's and this poster that they've put out now, that's what's really kind of catching my eye. Some really nice designer work here, really interesting Photoshop, kind of like melding, I guess is the word, Harry Styles and Florence Pugh's faces together. That's quite cool. And just based on these first looks, they're kind of dressed in these kind of 50s, 60s.
Yeah, we can only hope for the 50s. Anything set in the 50s is better. So
yeah, kind of style. So this looks pretty exciting. Do we have a release date yet? It's
I saw something. It was like March 2022. I want to say.
That doesn't sound like a real year. That's so funny. Okay. Olivia Wilde says not till September.
Oh, okay.
Wow. Okay. So that's a while off.
Ways out then. We're a whole year away from this.
It seems pretty early to even release a teaser a year out.
A year in advance? Maybe they'll move it up.
I think they might, because it looks like
it's clearly done.
From what we're seeing, like, at least principal photography is done, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, easily. Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe they're into reshoots now or something, obviously COVID probably screwed up some of the schedule, but yeah, I'm just looking at set photos and it's very you know, they're masked, so I guess, you know, this was a in pandemic production,
Right. Yeah.
which always fascinates me, by the way. I think we're seeing a lot of movies now that were at least partially shot during COVID, during the pandemic, and
Mhm. Yeah. Oh, for sure.
that's really it's that's really weird to think about, because the pandemic is so clear and present in our minds at all times, of course, and it really gives that movie the sense of like, oh yes, you know, this was made during my time, you know, not that other movies before weren't, but you feel it.
Yeah.
It's very weird. So yeah, I'm really excited about this project. I know you are, of course.
Yeah. I think this could be really cool.
With the
sure.
presence of Miss Pugh. But yeah, it looks great.
Yeah, it really does. One final bit, Sam, unless you have anything. We have a new Christopher Nolan announcement.
Yeah.
You know, he's developing another World War II movie, except different, completely opposite spectrums.
Yeah.
We have a J. Robert Oppenheimer story coming our way.
Sure, why not?
Presume the Manhattan Project and his development of the atomic bomb.
That's what I'm reading here. Yeah. Which is cool.
Yeah, presumably starring Cillian Murphy, which is also cool. Sam, what are your thoughts? We just talked about Nolan a little bit last week, so this is funny.
Cillian Murphy as Oppenheimer, perhaps.
I would hope so.
Interesting. This is cool. I think, well, if you just think of an atom bomb, what and the testing that goes into that, and all the things that we didn't get to see before near Hiroshima and everything.
Yeah,
you just think of that, and you think of what Christopher Nolan could do with that kind of imagery, and what kind of insane practical effects he's going to attempt as a result of that. Is pretty wild. So that's exciting. But here too, the other thing I'm interested in is the fact that, you know, a lot of this is not going to be, we know it's not going to be an action movie necessarily.
No, I would imagine more of a drama.
It's gonna be a drama. It's gonna be like a kind of a thriller, like a government thriller, kind of in the mode. This is kind of a project. I feel that, like, yeah, it feels like something Steven Spielberg would pursue. You know, it's that sort of project. So I think it'll be new territory for Nolan.
Absolutely.
Actually,
Yeah, absolutely.
because, you know, we're not, at least presumably, we're not going to see any real significant battle scenes or war scenes. So it'll be a new challenge for him. I'm glad that he's going this direction. I think regardless of how you feel about Tenet, I really do feel like it was, if not a step back, at least a step in the same direction that he had been going.
Yeah.
That he had been going his entire career. And the last time he tried something new with Dunkirk, it was a tremendous success, at least in my eyes and in a lot of people's eyes. So
right. Agreed.
I'm very excited to see what he does with this.
Yeah, we principal photography, I think Nolan said would be starting up here in the next 4 months or so, early 2022, he said, 4 or 5 months. Not going with WB, which is interesting.
Yeah.
We've seen Nolan be with Warner Bros. Basically his entire career, so choosing to go a different direction there is a fascinating decision. I don't know what that tells, but yeah, this has me really excited. It really does. This is, like you said, something completely different that Nolan has never done before.
Well, let me ask you, Will, do you think that the WB thing, do you think that has anything to do with the fact that they're streaming their new releases on HBO Max? Does it have anything to do with that?
Oh, I
Because
hadn't even
Nolan
thought
is
of
such
that.
a purist about the theater.
He is. He is. I don't know, because WB has since stated that next year not all of their movies will be on HBO Max same day release as their model was this year.
Right.
But maybe it
Yeah.
certainly could be. I watch all Christopher Nolan movies on my watch, and I tell him that too, and he's
With
very
one
happy.
AirPod in.
Yeah, he's very
Yeah.
happy about it.
I watch it on my watch. The only reason I ask, and this is fresh on my mind, is I just read an article today about David Chase, the creator of The Sopranos, and then I guess the producer of, or an executive producer of the new Sopranos prequel. It's coming out October 1st, The Many Saints of Newark. And he's quoted as saying in the article, he's like, yeah, if I knew that this movie would be streaming on HBO Max the same day as its theatrical release, I wouldn't have made it.
That's fantastic.
And I'm like, oh yeah. A lot of these old school guys, David Chase is older. Nolan's not, but he's
old fashioned.
just traditional. Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of these older guys, I mean, I can only imagine that they're really not happy about not being in a theater. But
Yeah.
older guys like Scorsese and some other people have been able to embrace the Netflix model, have seen no problem with working with an evolving release format. So it's always an interesting debate, and we will continue to have this debate on the show, I'm sure.
Yeah, it'll certainly be interesting to see where Nolan goes in the future as well. And I really don't think this is unlike any. I don't think there's a comparison to his prior filmography of what this will be like. So, yeah, we're excited. That's really all I have to say about that. Sam, do you have anything else related to industry news?
I do not off the top of my head.
Shall we get started on Moonlight?
Sure, let's talk about Moonlight.
So you were like a dickhead. It's not what I expected. What did you expect?
Yeah, Moonlight. I'll start off by saying, Sam, I freaking love this movie. It's one of my favorite movies.
Wow.
And it's fantastic in every single possible facet. I really have no gripes with this movie, so it's going to be a boring review on my part, because I'm just going to be saying how great is this, how great is this. I love the way they did this. I love the way they did that. So it'll be boring on my end, but I'll just start off by saying that I think this movie is fantastic.
Yeah. The movie is fantastic. And it is one of the best picture winners to ever win, certainly. At the time of its release, or I guess we can talk about the Oscars fiasco that happened.
Yeah, we'll get into that for sure.
At 2017, but at the time I remember thinking, how could anyone lose? How could La La Land lose to anyone? Which, you can have a debate about which film is better, but at the time I was really upset about it, and then I went and saw Moonlight, and that changed things for me quite a bit. But where do we start with this? How do we get into this?
I think I'll just start off by saying I'm a pretty big sucker for highly structured 3-act movies, and this does that to a T.
Sure.
I love how it's able to really make each act feel like its own while still being a movie with all three at the same time. It's almost I've actually done this before. I've watched individual acts of this movie and then stopped watching them because I feel like, yeah, I got the story, like there it is. But then when you put it together, it works completely too. So I think that's the most brilliant part about this movie is how it's able to balance all three of those acts separately and together.
Yeah.
Which is just a testament to how great of a director Barry Jenkins really is.
Yeah, it's very hard to pull off without it being too gimmicky.
Right.
But the three acts, especially when you're casting, we've talked about this before, but casting three actors in the same role is very difficult to do. One, you have to keep up with appearances, like literally, logistically. You have to find three actors that are not only capable actors, but also vaguely resemble each other. Because I know that when I'm watching a movie, and this might be a weird thing that I have, but when I'm watching a movie, and there's two actors cast in the same role, it's like, you kind of see their physical differences, and you're just like, it kind of takes you out of the story. But here it doesn't. You follow each three chapters of this man's life, and you don't really bat an eye, and especially when there's these long periods that are cut out in between the acts. He has long periods of life that we don't see as the audience, and we don't mind that because each three act is properly self-contained. Kind of tells its own story, but they can join together perfectly. So we aren't really bothered by those gaps in time either. And that's really where the strength of the movie lies for me. I would agree with you is the structure, because it's crazily ambitious and it works well.
Right. And you talked about it a bit, but I mean, this movie really does not work if all three of these actors, if even one of them doesn't work out, then it's a flop. And I really do think all three of them hold their own in their own acts, and then also can match up well with each other. I'm certain I've read this somewhere actually. The three actors never met each other because Jenkins, the director, wanted them to really give their own take on the role, on the character. And I think that works perfectly too, because we get to see three unique performances that all kind of feel the same, which is likely in a testament to Jenkins' writing abilities too, to where he's able to write the character so well to that you almost can't play the character any other way than how these three actors did.
Yeah, that's well said. I had read that they hadn't met each other, but yeah, I mean, that's one way to go about it. The other thing about this movie is the simplicity. I guess that kind of goes back to the fact that it is just three stories about the same person, but it's three different times in his life. The movie's very simple. It doesn't rely on too many. There aren't too many supporting characters. There's not. It never feels far-fetched or out of its own element. It never feels like it's reaching for something that it isn't. The movie is very authentic to itself, which is really what I appreciate about it. But yeah, do you have anything else to say generally about the film, or should we kind of get into the story?
I do want to say that I think this movie is gorgeous looking in terms of its palette and cinematography, which is rewarded at the Oscars in terms of awards. And then we hear it in the trailer, but that theme, Chiron's theme, the score is awesome as well. And it perfectly complements what's being displayed on screen to a T. And then one other thing, you mentioned it, there's not a ton of supporting performances in here, but man, the performances or the supporting characters that are in here, you get a lot out of them.
Yep.
And they're well utilized and effective and move the story. They're on screen for a reason. From his mother to his best friend to his kind of surrogate father, mother. All four of those characters are needed, crucial, and just awesome how they're done. So yeah, we can get more into the story. Do we just want to go by act? Just kind of talk the first act, go to the second, third, and then kind of talk about its Oscar night.
Yeah. Let's
Well, yeah. You just get us going. Talk about the first act a little bit.
So yeah, in the first act, we kind of have this Chiron, Lil Chiron, just Lil. He's known by Lil. And first of all, we can talk setting. There's this place called Liberty City, which is a group of neighborhoods in Miami, which has one of the highest concentrations of African American population anywhere in the country, which is pretty interesting. Because you think of Miami ethnically, it seems like it's mostly Cubano, but it's a subsection of Miami, and it has a very significant African American population, and it also takes place at the height of the crack epidemic, and Chiron knows this guy named Juan, who runs a crack house essentially, which is an incredibly jarring way to open a movie. Yeah. Especially when we're talking about one act of the movie that's not really going to play a role for the rest of it. You could probably say that each act of this film could stand on its own, each as a short film. But yeah, right off the bat, we're getting something that's incredibly unique. Maybe I'm just underexposed to media films depicting kind of rough childhoods. But Chiron Little has a lot to deal with here. And the performance from, I gotta get his name, Alex Hibbert, as Little is phenomenal. Child acting.
Yeah, super subtle, but that's why it's so effective. And we got to talk about the real winner of this first act, and that's Mahershala Ali. We've discussed this guy on this show before in our Green Book episode, but man, is he ever good in this movie. He has some really emotionally draining scenes with Alex Hibbert, he's fantastic at it, and is my favorite performance in this movie and one of my favorite performances of all time. So I really Gosh, I really am just going to keep saying that. But yeah, he's great in this movie. Fantastic. And that character is awesome too, as kind of a role model to Little. And certainly an odd role model, unconventional, but one nonetheless.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say an unconventional role model because that's kind of what his character is. It's he's not a typical kind of wise older figure
Yeah.
type person, you know. He's not that kind of mold, that archetype, you know. He's deeply flawed. You know, at best in movies you often see kind of an older wise character that had previously lived a life of crime or a sinful life, but that wised them up to be more sage, and kind of give the younger character guidance. But here, you know, Ali's character, Juan, he's a drug dealer. He
deals drug to Chiron's mother.
Yes, yeah, and he's not. He runs a crack house. But he's not portrayed as necessarily a negative influence.
No,
on Chiron at all, which is very interesting. And it's kind of unlike any character. Actually, I think I can say this with certainty. It's unlike any character interaction I've ever seen in a movie. He's a different kind of he's like a semi-father figure. He's extremely flawed.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, first act is great. We can move on to the second act if you'd like, Sam.
Yeah, of course.
This is really, you know, you kind of hinted at it. Really not a whole lot happens in the first act, not in terms of the overall story at least. But in the second act, we really do find a lot out about Chiron, who goes by Chiron now. You know, we get a lot of time with him and his best friend and him and his mother, and we kind of develop those relationships a little bit better. We kind of know who Chiron is a little bit more. And I think this second act is great character development throughout. We really see who Chiron is in this. It's just put to screen so well. But yeah, we see him. We really see him kind of start to discover who he is and see what it is like to kind of come into his shell while other people are essentially telling him not to. But what do you think about this act, Sam?
Yeah, this one is it's kind of it does strictly follow the 3-act structure because the second act is traditionally the one with the most action, I suppose, and we get a lot of action in this act. We get some violence, we get some sex, we get more action, I suppose, or some violence. By the end of it, Chiron ends up hitting, walking into class and hitting Terrell, I believe his name is, over the head, and ends up with Chiron getting arrested. But before that, we have a lot of things. Paula, his mother, right?
Great performance too.
Yes, her name's Paula. Yeah, that's right. Phenomenal performance by Naomi Melanie Harris, who's actually British. I did not know that at all. But apparently she appears in a couple of Pirates of the Caribbean
Oh, that's right. She
films.
does.
So
Yeah.
that's where that accent comes in handy. Like, I had no idea she was British until tonight, so that's cool. Phenomenal performances, Paula. Yeah, basically, we see that her drug addiction has gotten worse, and so so Chiron kind of is out of the house more and more, and he starts hanging out with his best friend Kevin more and more, and presumably a romance starts to bloom.
Yeah.
And we have this incredibly moving and powerful scene with the two of them sitting out on the beach, and it's kind of everything about adolescence kind of summed up in just a couple of images there.
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
remarkable. But then we have some more violence. Kevin ends up getting hazed, and ends up hurting Chiron, basically by punching him repeatedly, and Chiron basically refuses to
fight back,
to fight back or even rat him out. And when he finds out who it is, he ends up hitting Terrell over the head with a chair.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, this is these last like those last maybe 15 minutes in this particular act are really tough to watch, because it's you kind of can see it coming at each step, and there's nothing that can be done to prevent it. So it's hard to watch. It's really devastating.
And there's a lot of whiplash too from the scene on the beach, the tranquility of that.
Yeah, you're still kind of processing that even
to what happens the next day.
Right.
It's and I guess if we kind of want to get into what the movie actually means, or some of the themes that it's hitting on, it's really about growing up and the life story and the feelings of confliction that come with adolescence.
Right. An early adult. Yeah. We can get into that in third act right now if you want.
Right. Yeah, of course. But I'm saying that like the second act is that transition, right? You kind of have Chiron finally discovering who he is. He's falling in love with Kevin, and then Kevin ends up beating the crap out of him the next day. And
that stuff's
that the bipolarness of what, it's like you almost want to be like Chiron. We've all been there, but that's life. But no, it's kind of an extraordinary circumstance, and yeah. So, but anyway, from there, boom, we go into the third act, and Chiron is an adult and a full-fledged drug dealer, like his kind of adoptive father figure, and and he keeps getting called by his mother, and we kind of see this recompense between him and his mother, and
really great scene.
Phenomenal. And you're a sucker for a structured third act. I'm a sucker for parent kid relationships. I think it's absolutely beautiful. There's something so primal and so simple about returning to one's mother after a rough patch or whatever. There's a lot of cinema to kind of display that. But what does she say in that scene?
Essentially
a quote there.
He kind of, Chiron, or he goes by Black now. Black kind of he kind of shrugs her off essentially as she's kind of pleading with him that she's getting better and she kind of wants him to as well. And she kind of says, like, you don't have to love me, but you're going to know that I love you. And that's Sam and I aren't parents to our knowledge, but
Not to my knowledge.
I can only imagine how true that is, and how touching that scene really is.
Oh,
Yeah, that's a great quote. I'm glad you mentioned that.
yeah.
There's so much great things about this movie. It's tough to it's really tough to break it down. But yeah, we move on from that scene, and he's been getting he got a phone call from. Does he get a phone call from Kevin? He does, right?
Yeah, Kevin does call him.
Okay,
I think
that's what I was thinking. And he drives down that night to go meet Kevin, and Kevin's gonna make him some food, and essentially
Kevin's working at a diner now.
Yeah, it's a long-awaited reunion after.
A great setting too. The diner.
We're both fans of diners. So.
We are big fans of diners. I love anything diner, because there's something so unassuming about it, but that there's thousands of stories that have passed through there.
Yeah,
you're sitting at a diner, and I mean, I've had some of my most serious conversations at a diner. Like, I have talked about some of my deepest, darkest secrets at a diner, and I'm sitting there and I'm saying this, and then I look around and I see all the people around us kind of huddled at their own tables having their own conversation.
Mostly just your admittance to your true adoration of The Shape of Water, but among other things.
Oh my God, it's just the way that she just has sex with that fish man. Anyway, but I always think, I look around the tables. I think of all the different conversations that everyone's having, and they're all their own unique traumas, their own unique stories, their own unique things that are on their mind. And it's beautiful because it's unassuming, because there's no expectation for anyone to share outside of their own table. It's just a beautiful way to wrap things up. And so Kevin makes Chiron dinner. They end up going to his apartment. Kevin reveals that, he has an ex-girlfriend. He has a kid with his ex-girlfriend, but he's a father now, and that means something to him. He's very content with the fact that he is a father, and he realizes that, he's happy despite all the troubles that he's gone through in life. And Chiron Black just basically says that, I haven't really loved anyone since I loved you. And Black thinks back to him as a child, and to himself as a child. As little, just staring off into the moonlight on a beach, reminiscing about those youthful days where things seem so much simpler, I guess you could say.
He really Black really opens up, makes himself vulnerable, and it's a great moment as they embrace at the end. Excuse me, I really do think that's an awesome moment of this movie, is that we don't really know what happens after the movie cuts to black. See what I did there? No, kidding. After the movie cuts away, the last shot is, we get some shots of characters looking into the camera, which is something I don't think should be used very often, but it oddly works in this movie. Mm-hmm. And then our final shot is Kevin and Black, Chiron embracing, and it cuts away. So really, at that point, this is where the story ends for the movie, but it could really go 1,000 different ways for each individual viewer. So
right.
I think that's really smart as well to leave it almost ambiguous. Yeah, as to where these two characters go, or our main character goes.
Fine. Yeah, go ahead. Say ambiguous ending. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah. And I said at the beginning of this movie, I will get into some negatives of this movie, which is
let's get into that right now.
I know you don't have any, but
I don't. I really don't.
You don't. And I said I admire this movie for being simple, and I do. I really do. But I remember watching this movie and thinking, that's so nice, but what else?
Oh, really? Interesting.
Yes. I just felt like there was something missing. Maybe another character, maybe another plot point, maybe a different challenge. I'm not sure. And it's so strange because really I do love simple movies. Down by Law, one of my favorite movies, made on a budget of probably $10,000, just like no money, is incredibly simple, but it's so offbeat. It's so unique that I just love it for whatever reason. And Moonlight, it is unique, especially when you're thinking about the relationship between Chiron and Juan. But I just felt like there was something missing, and that's my only real critique of the movie.
Sure.
It's a lovely film. It's quaint. And it defines, a piece of what adolescence could be. But I don't think it's this all-encompassing manifesto, and it doesn't claim to be either. That's the thing that where I'm conflicted on it, right?
Yeah.
Does that make any sense?
No, I know what you're saying. I do know what you're saying. Yeah, I get it. I never had that thought that I wanted more out of this movie. It kind of just, it is what it is, and I so enjoy it for that. So
yeah.
But Sam, do you have any other negatives, or should we kind of get into its Oscar night?
Yeah, let's get into his Oscar night thing.
So we have 8 nominations, 3 wins. We have film editing, original score, director, cinematography, supporting actress for Harris, supporting, and then the wins. Sorry, so the wins include Mahershala Ali for supporting actor, Barry Jenkins for adapted screenplay, and of course the big one, Best Picture. Would you add anything? Would you take anything away? Would you give something else a win?
I don't think so.
That's solid.
That's solid. I haven't seen enough from that year really.
Okay.
To make a proper judgment call.
Well, yeah. Let me give a rundown of that year real quick. The 9 nominated movies include Fences by Denzel Washington, Manchester by the Sea, Hacksaw Ridge, Hell or High Water, Hidden Figures, Arrival, Lion, and of course La La Land, and then Moonlight.
Yep.
I guess let's just talk real quick. Sam, La La Land or Moonlight. It's almost unfortunate that these 2 movies are kind of forever binded, but
yes. Very different films.
Oh, absolutely. That's the thing.
And very, very different reasons for why the Academy would consider both. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Because with La La Land, it's just, it takes place in LA, and the Academy loves to
love Hollywood movies.
They tend to like Hollywood movies, believe it or not. And so, I mean, that's kind of funny. The Moonlight, obviously the Academy loves the stories of. I'm a little cynical of this, of course, but the Academy loves stories about marginalized communities. Even though I think Barry Jenkins would say it's a movie about Chiron. It's not a movie about being black or being gay. It's I'm telling a specific story here.
That happens to include those, but
that happens to include those.
Yeah.
But I'm of course cynical about it. The Academy wants to nominate movies about marginalized communities. That's their prerogative, I suppose. I'm just saying they would probably do it for the wrong reasons. But anyway, so yes, very different movies nominated for very different reasons. I enjoy La La Land more. I think it's an absolute spectacle of a film. I think it's great. I remember thinking it would be awful because every girl I knew was in love with it. Like, oh, so this has to be flaming hot garbage. And this was before I knew who Damien Chazelle really was. It was before I had watched Whiplash. And I went into the theater and I was blown away. So
right.
I was fiercely defensive of La La Land. It was phenomenal. Phenomenal. I went and saw it with my brother. My brother cried.
Yeah, I mentioned that Moonlight is one of my favorite films of all time, and La La Land is also one of my favorite films of all time, but it is higher. I like La La Land better as well. Yeah, La La Land is fantastically well made. There's an argument to be made that apparently you're cynical against, that Moonlight is a more important film. That La La Land is about two people singing and dancing around Hollywood versus someone who's really trying to discover who they are as a person.
Right.
So there'd be arguments to say which one is more important.
Sure.
I'd be fine with either of them winning. So I'm not offended by its choice.
No, and I'm not offended anymore either. I used to be, but I'm not now.
Yeah. Yep.
And really, it's like, if I really love a movie, do I really want it to get Best Picture necessarily? Not always, because sometimes winning Best Picture can be one of the worst things that can happen to your movie. I mean, obviously, it disseminates the name and it brings it out into circles and it's more funding for you or whatever. But depending on the audience you're going for, maybe institutionalizing it and slapping that label on it, maybe that hurts the film. Just maybe.
They could.
It depends on what you're going for. So with every passing day, of course, I don't know how you feel about this, but with every passing day, I'm taking the Academy less and less seriously.
Yeah, absolutely. I think everyone is.
Right.
I think everyone is.
So, I mean, like, Nomadland, really?
It's art, man. You just don't get it.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, whatever, whatever. That's kind of where I'm at with that entire fiasco in with the 2016 films.
Yeah.
So it doesn't bother me anymore, really.
Yeah. I think they both would have been good choices. So I don't think we really lost out on something. Any other honorable mentions you want to, of those 9 that I talked about, Sam, that you'd like to just kind of give a shout out that you really enjoy?
Did you mention Darkest Hour?
That's the year next.
Oh, dang it. How do you know that off the top of your head?
The only reason I know is because we talked about it for like half a second in the Shape of Water episode, and you raved about it, so don't worry.
Darkest Water, yeah, that's right. Darkest Hour, yes. That I just combined Darkest Hour and Shape of Water. It is a Tuesday night, but yeah, phenomenal movie.
Yeah, I want Manchester by the Sea is great. One of the most devastating movies ever, but awesome. Really like Arrival and Hacksaw Ridge as well. So this is a solid year. This is a very solid year.
Yeah, and 10 Cloverfield Lane, which didn't get nominated, of course, but that There's
Another
something
solid
about
one.
that.
Yeah.
Something about that movie, man. But Arrival is truly one of my favorite sci-fi movies ever.
Yeah.
Love that film. Severely underappreciated and misunderstood.
Is I Care a Lot sci-fi?
I mean, it could be. It could be.
Okay, then
depending
that's
on-
my favorite sci-fi movie.
The way she survived that car accident, man, that is science fiction.
Yeah, that's true.
I'll tell you that much.
All right, man. Should we get into some star ratings for Moonlight?
Yeah, let's get into it.
You can go first because mine's uninteresting.
I'll give Moonlight 4 stars out of 5. I think it is strong in itself. It's its own film, and it is what it is, and it's great on its own terms.
Yeah,
which I think is the right way to put it. What's your rating, Will?
Yeah, I'm gonna go 4.5. I reserve 5 stars. I reserve 5 stars for a very select amount of films. So 4.5 is a very high praise, though.
Yeah.
I
believe you.
So yeah, there we go. Moonlight, check. We got Spotlight next time, Sam.
Ooh, Spotlight will be an interesting conversation.
That'll be an interesting conversation for sure.
Yes.
But should we get into some recommendations before we head on out for the night?
Sure, let's get into some recommendations.
Yeah. All right. You want to go first, or should I lead us off?
You better go first, per our usual arrangement.
That's what our contract says. So I don't even know
what
why.
our contract says. I don't make the rules.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah. Attorneys were very, very straight about that one.
Don't mess around with the attorneys.
Gosh, I watched so much good content this week. I struggled before we got on to really only choose one thing, but again, we mentioned the contract just a couple seconds ago. That's what the contract says, only one recommendation per week. So I'm gonna recommend a documentary I watched on Netflix. It's a series of kind of a series, more serialistic series, I suppose. It's kind of like a knockoff 30 for 30. Netflix's Untold series, just sports documentaries, really. And this one is called Untold: Malice at the Palace. If you're into basketball, really, I don't even think you need to like basketball. This is just an interesting topic. It's regarded as the really America's in all of its 4 major sports worst night in sports, Malice at the Palace, where the Detroit Pistons hosted the Indiana Pacers in a regular season game, and a horrible fight broke loose, which involved fans and players alike throughout the entire stadium. So very interesting watch. It's about 60 minutes. It's called Untold: Malice at the Palace on Netflix.
Ooh, very good. Very good. That sounds phenomenal.
Yeah, I'm excited to watch more of the Untold episodes as well.
Untold. Yeah. Sports documentaries, very make or break for me. Very
agreed. I'm totally with you.
Very back and forth. There's right ways to do it, and there's a wrong way to do it. So I'm very...
watch one Untold, Sam, and let me know if they're right or wrong.
Ooh, I will let you know. I will watch the pilot.
Cool.
That sounds phenomenal. Anyway, I'm gonna do. Okay, this is interesting. I'm in a Shakespeare seminar class at the moment. So
Romeo and Juliet got you down. All right. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Yes. Romeo and Juliet. Romeo and Juliet is
it's horrible Shakespeare.
I've actually read quite a few Shakespeare plays at this point, and Romeo and Juliet is the McDonald's of Shakespeare's catalog.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of like a director and a movie equivalent for Romeo and Juliet. Like Romeo and Juliet is the blank of Shakespeare. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
what I need to think of like a director in his filmography. But anyway, that's not important. We just read this play called Much Ado About Nothing, which is a okay to great play, depending on how much you overanalyze it. Which is literally how I feel about it. But so on a whim, I watched this adaptation that this fella Joss Whedon did about 9 years back, and he sets it in modern times, like a lot of Shakespeare adaptations. He sets it in modern times, but keeps the script virtually the same, the Shakespearean language. And I'm always interested to see how the actors can pull off this Shakespearean language while maintaining their American accents and just the way people interact and
Not make it sound silly. Yeah.
Yes, and it works. And this adaptation from 2012 by Joss Whedon works really well. I thought it was lovely. It was a lovely little film. It was kind of fun, you know. Amy Acker, I don't know if you're familiar, is kind of the lead. She was in Cabin in the Woods. If
Sure.
That helps. She also has a minor role in Catch Me If You Can.
Great movie.
Yeah, great film. So that's yeah. Anyway, check out Much Ado About Nothing, Joss Whedon's version. I think he did an okay job with it. So
Good. Well, Sam, next week we have Eyes of Tammy Faye, but until then, where can I find you on Letterboxd?
Well, if you're looking, you can find me on letterboxd.com/sjdierberger. And where can I find you, Will Spalding?
You can find me at Letterboxd at Will Spalding, and you can find us at anchor.fm/thosefilmnerds or thosefilmnerds.weebly.com or Those Film Nerds on any podcast platforms, really. Gmail, whatever. But until next time, Sam.
Keep watching movies, everyone. Have a great week.
Thank you.
Ever thought about making a podcast? Well, Anchor is the easiest and simplest way to do so. Let me explain. For starters, it's free. There's also creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone, laptop, or computer. Anchor will also distribute your podcast for you, so it can be heard on multiple platforms such as Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Podcasts, and much, much more. You can also make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need in a podcast in one place. So give it a try.